In addition to the house behind me, police spent much of the day investigating the silver Honda and a shed in the back of the house as well. To be fair, I tried to reach out to McKenzie-Willamette hospital officials about a statement on the protest. Instead, I was asked to leave the building and was handed this letter. The situation is very similar to an oil spill at sea, where crews will deploy these booms to collect the water on the surface of the river before it ever flows down into Eugene and Springfield. But just because the store behind me is closing doesn't mean local residents won't have access to groceries nearby. I'm going to turn the camera and show you exactly what I mean. This neighborhood is known for fierce competition when it comes to groceries. Across the street sits a Fred Meyer. Behind that is a Bi-Mart. Just down the road is a Safeway. So how do they know which house violated the burn ban and which one didn't? Well, the process is simple. First, a neighbor would call to complain that they saw smoke coming from a neighbor's chimney. Then El Rapa would come out and investigate, and if they saw smoke coming out of the chimney, they'd then take pictures and document the violation. But this wasn't just a one-store incident. All up and down First Street, you now have Christmas decorations in the window and boards on all the doors. We've been talking about it for quite a long time. What's going to happen to historic Civic Stadium? Well, depending on what the 4J School Board decides tomorrow, we could find out later rather than sooner. Technically, I'm more than halfway to Steens Mountain. It's about 5 o'clock, and hunters and ATV riders have already told me to turn around since I'm unfamiliar with the area and get back on the main surface road. I'm going to turn the camera and show you just how close I got to Steens Mountain. But pretty much the hunters and the ATV riders say when it comes to dark, this place is pretty dangerous, especially when I'm by myself. Absolutely. Aww. But you know, we came into 2014 10 inches below rainfall, so this is desperately needed across the area.
It's probably a good thing, then.
Absolutely.
We kind of need this a little bit right
Absolutely.
now. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Farmers are screaming, where has it been? I know I've gotten a few tweets about this. Why are you making such a big deal about the freezing fog? Well, with the freezing fog, any roadway that has or has not been treated, inside these fog clouds are some damp conditions that could put another layer of moisture on the ground that could freeze, create some black ice and some slick spots in the area. That's why we highlight the freezing fog taking place in the valleys. So I had to just see it for myself. I'm here in downtown Eugene to ask the question, does everyone, at least at one point in their life, say church sucks?
She would do anything for anybody.
Since police showed up on Birch Street and Cottage Grove, neighbors and friends have been hoping for the best, but expecting the worst.
She was kind. You met her at the store. You'd say hi to her. She was always saying hi back. She never did anything wrong to anybody. She was outgoing, friendly.
Friends and neighbors say missing Beaverton woman Tammy Borda spent a lot of time in a home where police established a crime scene late Tuesday night. They also say she had a relationship with the homeowner. Witnesses say the homeowner was escorted out of the house before the investigation began. Now, that doesn't mean an arrest has been made. From this Google Earth satellite image, you can get a clearer picture of the crime scene. Investigators focused on a shed in the backyard, a silver car parked in the front, and the house itself. Police did not release any details Wednesday about the investigation or the whereabouts of the homeowner, David Bowen, who friends say is Borda's ex-boyfriend. Even after the crime lab left, friends and neighbors remained in the area, staring at the scene in wonder.
And I feel for her children. It's Christmas. It's sad.
Borda's own son arrived at the home Wednesday morning. Friends tell us police told him nothing.
She's a very good person. She did a lot for the community. She worked at community sharing for a while, too.
Only invasives.
If this were to happen in the Willamette Valley, these are the folks that we would call upon if an incident like this were to happen.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, first responders, and even E-Web spent their Wednesday preparing for disaster.
I wouldn't speculate on chance. We always work to prevent risk and plan for emergencies that we can't foresee.
Inside the Dexter Dam is hydroelectric equipment lubricated by more than 5,800 gallons of oil. If any of that oil leaked out of the system for any reason, the consequences to the river and local drinking water could be more than problematic. Similar to a 911 emergency call, the crews are ready to respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The situation is very similar to an oil spill at sea, where crews will deploy these booms to collect the water on the surface of the river before it ever flows down into Eugene and Springfield. But it's more than just floating something in the water.
The oil does tend to typically stay on the surface of the water, so if we can get out, we can get boom in place. we can get it corralled into a certain area and isolated, it does allow us to come in with, say, like a vacuum truck or skimmers.
The booms do not have to completely stretch across the river for a full cleanup to take place. The Corps can manipulate the flow of the river from the dam itself. Even though training was just one day, consequences and cleanup of a spill can take longer.
We've been training and building this response, watershed response system for 10 years now, and we've been training and drilling every year, so we are prepared and ready to respond if our source of water is impacted in any way like this.
That's right, Ty and Amanda. Titanic, Ladder 49, even Driving Miss Daisy. Not all movies you traditionally see in the red box, but its video stores say this is what's keeping them afloat.
People that used to never come in are starting to come in because there's nothing else to watch anymore.
It's an interesting time in the video rental industry. At video stores in the Willamette Valley, there's no more corporate competition.
You know, the only thing we have is Netflix and Redbox, and people would rather come in here than try to share a 9-inch screen with their family.
Now that Blockbuster is out of the picture, locally owned video stores are left to compete with what's online and the infamous Redbox.
Streaming is certainly competition, but streaming has always been competition, and there are things that you don't get with streaming that you do get with packaged media, bonus features and better definition.
Now, if you're worried your favorite hit movie isn't going to be available to you anymore, there's really no reason to be concerned. That's because some of the final sales made inside this building before the store closed were actually to the local video stores that we spoke with here in Lane County. Abraxas Video in Cottage Grove expanded its inventory during Blockbuster's last days. They say it's their large inventory that's helped them survive all these years.
And people want their classics. Halloween time, we had a whole bunch of people coming in for Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town and all the old family Halloween movies that people don't or people can't really get unless they happen to catch them on TV.
Local video stores say they've also seen an explosion in rentals of popular TV shows like True Blood and Seinfeld.
That'll be $3.49.
$3.49. It says $1.49.
Well, you didn't rewind it. There's a $2 charge.
With Blockbuster gone, both stores say they will now focus on the old and the new. Well, in addition to competing with the red box, local video stores say an unlikely competitor has stepped up to the plate in recent years, the local library. Live in the studio, I'm Ricky Maranon, News Source 16.
Well, one thing I don't miss, those rewind charges.
Yeah. But most people think the delivery is awesome, that the natural shape is great. You know, it's not a dense cone. But as long as they get planted, that's the main thing.
After 20 years in Portland, the original Potted Christmas Tree Company is expanding business to the Eugene area. The company provides residents a living potted Christmas tree for the holidays, and afterwards it will be replanted in a state park.
All our trees get planted every year to grow old. We don't reuse the trees. So it's not really renting, because renting is when you reuse it over and over. We deliver it. They're used as Christmas trees, and then they get planted to grow old.
John says since the trees can only survive indoors for a few weeks, all trees will be delivered around December 15th and will be picked up a day or two after New Year's. And don't worry. John says he's never had any woodland creatures living in his trees. So let's say you've already picked out the Christmas tree this holiday season, but you still want to go green. Well, you can always go green by going red with the poinsettia.
We start planting them in July and August, and it's quite a process because they're a very finicky plant.
At Johnson Brothers Greenhouses in Coburg, it's one of the busiest weeks for poinsettia deliveries.
The colorful poinsettias, whether it's the traditional red or something fun and new that we have every year, it's just that tradition of coming out, picking out the perfect poinsettias. I think that's really what does it for people.
Johnson Brothers says the plant, which is actually tropical, requires basic care like any other indoor house plant.